Okay guys, I'm going to do a bit of a tribute on Paul Dillett. Paul Dillett burst on the pro scene in 1993 following a win at the 1993 North Americans. Now this guy stood out in any lineup because he was a really big guy. He was 6'1" and he weighed in around 270, 280 pounds. And for those days in the 90s, that was a big guy. Look, and unlike a lot of the taller bodybuilders, he didn't suffer from that gangly, underdeveloped extremities or the elongated torso. He looked really proportional for his size. Now, he possessed really good quads and calf development, and his hamstrings from the side were good as well. His abs were really well defined. He had that really good six-pack, and it all came in tight. And his arms were, in particular, they were huge from any angle. He had really broad shoulders, and this gave him an amazing V-taper. And he had a bit of an unusual attribute that he seemed to have quite a narrow head for such a big guy, and it seemed to just emphasise everything about the width of this fella. Now, Shawn Ray was noted to say that standing relaxed, Dillett was Mr Olympia. Now, it's rare for Shawn Ray to give praise to anyone, but in truth I think he was being condescending. It's while Dillett was taller, wider, heavier than him, he wasn't comparable to him, and I'll go into those points. One of Dillett's biggest problems for me was his difficulty in holding poses. It seemed like it was an enormous effort for him to contract and hold a pose for any period of time. Now, I saw this guy guest pose. It was after the 93 Olympia, but before the 94 one, so, halfway we'll say. And what I remember most about him was the size of his arms, which he posed a lot, and the almost convulsive effort he needed, it seemed to be, to make any sort of pose. And that's going back a long way, but I still remember it. Now, apparently Dillett is an asthmatic, and this may have been the reason why he struggled holding those poses with his breath. But from a judging point of view, you can't take that into consideration. So, points against him, I think. Now, notwithstanding his posing issues, from the front and the side, I think he was as good as anyone at the time, in almost any pose, really. Now, things changed a lot when he turned around. His back lacked thickness, lacked detail, and lacked width. His rear double bicep was dominated massively by his arms and shoulders, but even his shoulders, he didn't seem to be able to get any definition or detail in that pose. But it's there because you can see it in the side chest, you can see it in his shoulders, but not in this pose. And his rear lat spread left little impression. Now, given this was a time of Dorian Yates, and he just commenced his reign as Mr O, there's no surprise that his weak back was a huge detriment for him to be considered for top honours. Now, another point, and I hate to criticise someone for their looks and the factor it would play, but I wouldn't think this would be, the way he looked, would be any benefit to him when he's going up the more commercial appeal of, say, Flex Wheeler, Shawn Ray, Kevin Larone, all pretty good looking guys, but Dillett had a really aggressive, angry look about him always. And again, I'm sorry to pick on his looks, but I think, again, from a commercial point of view, he's not going to be favoured. Now, Dillett competed in some 40 professional competitions. His only pro win was at the 1999 Night of the Champions, now the New York Pro. His best placing at Mr Olympia was 4th in 1994. His best place at the Arnold was 4th in 1996. And something that he'll be probably infamously remembered for was having to be pretty much carried off stage at the 1994 Arnold when his muscles cramped so badly he was frozen mid-pose. And this is understood to be due to overuse of diuretics. Now, I suppose more than anything it stood out and got a higher profile than anything, because this came around 18 months after the death of Momo Benaziza, when he died of a heart attack from dehydration, again through overuse of diuretics as expected. Now, the records indicate that Dillett was active from 1993 to 2012, when he retired. Now, I was actually surprised that it was such a long period of time, because his presence on the bodybuilding scene seemed to finish around 2000. Now, I've got a pic here from 2006 at the Montreal, which indicate he was not the same guy he was in the 1990s. So statistically, Dillett did not make as big an impact as was expected of his potential, but he will, at least in my mind. I bet any guys from the 90s remember him. He'll long be remembered as having one of the freakiest bodies to ever grace the stage. Anyway, that's what I've got for Paul Dillett. Any comments? Let me know. Cheers. Bye-bye.